This is the bonus section, episode number 3, Activating the Theater of Your Mind. Are you the type of person that knows you were meant for something greater in this lifetime, and that somewhere inside of you there's a bigger version of yourself just trying to break through, but in spite of all your self-development, you just can't seem to find the way up? Well, then hey, you're definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the bonus section, and the host of this podcast, and a person just like you, trying to learn how to live the most fulfilling life possible. To help you take immediate action to get moving in a better direction, if that's what you want, we take all the notes from each episode and we post them for you over at freethinkingtools.com so you can start to get the how-to of how to make your life better. All right, let's get started in this episode. I apologize in advance, but I'm going to tell you what the bonus section is like. I will not be stopped by this cold. If you hear me hacking and coughing, I'm going to fight my way through it because this episode is really, really important. I know it's only number 3, but I just couldn't wait to get at it. So the first point here is I told you a little bit early on about that body of work, The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill, and how amazing it is. 20 years of studying some of the greatest people at the turn of the century in the United States, and the Industrial Revolution success that was bred from all that, personal success, and it's just fascinating. But oftentimes when I would go through that, I would be like, yes, I'm in. I bought in. I'm excited. But I want to know how to. I'm one of those guys that I think can understand pretty quickly when somebody really is telling me the truth on what to do, and I get it, and I buy in. I'm coachable. I'll listen, but then I want to know how to do it because I'm a take action guy. I need to, if that's for me, then I want to know how to do it, and I hope a lot of you are like that too, because the point of this one is the next book that I wanted to talk about. And again, I'm going to go back and forth to these books, but I want to get them introduced early in these early episodes, is the new Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. And the original one was called Psycho-Cybernetics. I know, funky name. It's mind steering systems. I think cybernetics actually technically means steering system, but psycho meaning the mind, right? But the new Psycho-Cybernetics is a fascinating story because this is edited and updated by Dan Kennedy. So for those of you that know me in a real estate context, you might know that I was coached by a guy who was coached by Dan Kennedy. And so Dan Kennedy was a marketing guru, is a marketing guru, but more importantly, he was a guy that was born with a pretty severe stutter. And he had endeavored to be a platform speaker and a successful marketer, and he actually used the techniques that Dr. Maltz had prescribed in Psycho-Cybernetics, the original. And so Kennedy was so moved by that he used it, and he overcame the stutter to become a platform speaker. I'm talking about in front of thousands of people. So all of you out there that don't believe that this type of thing can really help you overcome some of your disabilities, well, you might want to just try these techniques on, and that's how to implement some of this stuff very easily, okay? So let me get into what Maltz was about. Maltz was a plastic surgeon in the early part of the 1900s, so he was definitely affected by the work of Napoleon Hill, who was, I don't know if he was really a contemporary. Hill comes a little bit before him. The work is really there in front of him. I'll guarantee you he draws from it because that was a big movement in the early 1900s. So Maltz is off in New York, and he's got this great successful practice. But Maltz would come to recognize that he could fix a couple of people's noses the exact same way, and one would come out and say, "Oh my gosh, life is great," and the other one would come out and say, "Nothing's different about me." How could that be? So clearly, there was a mindset thing here because the nose had been made to the same specifications. I mean, I get it. Everybody's face is different, but you get his point. His point was it just wasn't the same reaction when somebody come out, and he would actually be surprised. So he began to really see how much of this was mental. And the way people saw themselves in the world, even if they got all the plastic surgery in the world to make them look like Superman or Superwoman, Wonder Woman, I suppose, right? It didn't work for some people. So something's going on here that's deeper. So, excuse me, Maltz in his body of work, he talks about the auto success mechanism, okay? And I like this because this speaks to that very animalistic side of us where we're all given this gift. And I've said this before, unless you're physically or mentally handicapped, we're all born on this even playing field whereby you have this auto success mechanism to survive. And I'll make an argument that a lot of people who are physically handicapped still have it, and even mentally handicapped, unless it's real severe and they can't live on their own, they have it too. And it is that success mechanism that's on board and helps us survive. So it's animalistic, right? I've heard David Goggins talk about this a lot, and he talks about it's the sort of 40% where that thermostatic level is set and we're able to get stuck there and survive. Well, Maltz makes the case that, spiritually and emotionally, there's something given to humans that makes us want for more. And that's that drive to thrive. So beyond this, and some people might never thrive in their life. They might just go through just barely surviving. I understand that, but it doesn't mean they stopped thinking about how to thrive. In fact, that might be the downright cause of depression, that because in you on board is some desire to be a greater version of yourself. I say it in the intro to the podcast. Are you looking for a bigger version of yourself and you know it's there? Well, I guess we're all wired with that. Some people will act upon it. Others won't be able to, but it exists in all of us, and it's called this auto success mechanism. And it's pretty fascinating. Think about what I'm saying. It's the thing that helps us, whatever resources, by the way, that we have physically. Think about how many thousands of years humans have evolved and survived in the darkest of days. It's proof of this existence of this thing that is on board, that is guiding us to make the best of whatever the circumstances are. I mean, look back to not so long ago in human history, and you just marvel at, oh my gosh, how did they survive? I mean, most of us would be crying on our soup as soon as the heat goes out, right? Ever had one of those days? Lights go out, heat goes out, phone goes off, and you're screaming and yelling. You get it, right? So the idea, I think also that's, by the way, a danger of modern society is that we get so comfortable. Are we dumbing down this auto success mechanism when it comes to thriving? Are we so safe and comfortable in the world that we're in? Are we becoming that fragile because we're not challenged? Nobody wants to go back and have less to leverage: technology, systems, ideas, information. We don't want to give it away, but really the more that we have, we might be softening in our desire to really push, or our need more so. Is the need to push that success mechanism to thrive. But I think also, when you look at an auto success mechanism and you relate it to the hierarchy of needs that Maslow talks about, the basics are there, right? Your ability to put food and water in your body so you can survive. You find shelter at the next level. Then you find love and belonging and some sense of community. A couple people live in your cave. But then you get into these spots that are really interesting, and I think they get into that uniquely human place where we're seeking self-esteem and then self-fulfillment. And that's really what this bonus section is about. I want to get up into those levels, especially fulfillment. So I push you and I give you the tools, and I learn myself as we head up there. So what's the key here? Let's go back to Napoleon Hill and what he discovered in every major business success back then, and especially pro athletes. They talk about imagination, right? I read it off in the last episode about Hill's laws of success. It's there. And everybody keeps talking about it, but we dance around the edges of it, and we don't see it as a tool. See, I think what Maltz gets into that's different from Hill is he really makes these things like tools, thinking tools. Now, that's the way I think, right? What I say, freethinkingtools.com. That's where I keep the notes for you. These are free thinking tools, and they're right there for access all the time. Your imagination is part of that auto success mechanism that relates to these higher levels of desires of a human. So Maltz says, well, it's like a tool. What do you mean it's like a tool? It's like an ignition key. So in other words, if you get into that auto success mechanism and you want to get beyond that basic of survival and you want to get into thriving, I think he's suggesting maybe you just take that key and you turn it in that auto success mechanism and you turn it loose. And so I talked in the past episode about that goal, that North Star that's out there. And now you have to imagine, how am I going to get there? And a lot of you will really put yourselves down, and you'll think it's difficult to get there because you say, I don't have the resources. I don't have the background. I don't have the environment. I don't have this. I don't have that. Hold on, folks. You do have imagination. And imagination is a key to ignite these things inside of you especially one key thing inside of you. Your resourcefulness is staggeringly powerful, and your resourcefulness is triggered when we program your other onboard tool, your subconscious. Okay, so let me go back and just say that slowly again. The idea is, if we just recognize that imagination is this massive, powerful tool, and we can stick it into this onboard automobile, this auto success mechanism, and turn it on. So in goes imagination into the mechanism and kicks on this big other place where we can really not have to worry anymore about what tools we're going to use to fulfill the goal, because imagination's going to find them. And that begs the last point here. What? What's he talking about? Well, Maltz talks about your mind as a theater. And he wants to imagine that you're sitting, or have you imagine, that you're sitting in your own theater. This is your theater. So you walk into the room, and you can imagine it with me right now as you listen to this. You walk into this beautiful theater, however you want it set up. I mean, I can see the red velvet chairs, the old school. You know, the stage is set just above. I get a seat where I'm just above the stage, my favorite spot, maybe a little bit off to the right. And I can see the hero of the story. And as I walk in, I sit up there, and guess who the hero is? You. Me. It's my theater. I'm the owner. I'm the hero. I'm the director. I'm everything in my own imagination. And that's how I program myself. And the underlying spiritual thing going on here is that the subconscious is really this environment. This is what it is. And so a lot of the technique that he talks about in the theater is acting as if you are the hero, as if you already have the goal, and really programming the subconscious to believe it. See, what he says is the subconscious doesn't know the difference between acting as if in the theater of the mind versus doing it. You want proof? Do you know who used this book in pro sports? For all you sports fans, Vince Lombardi had his championship teams reading Psycho-Cybernetics, teaching it. I mean, here's a guy that's known for the grit of the field and all the playmaking and everything that he was involved in. And here he has these guys going home and studying and acting as if they have already won these championships. And guess what? It worked. Have you ever seen an athlete, especially the high dive or a ski jumper? Have you ever seen them close their eyes and go through the whole thing and you think, oh, that looks absurd? No, it doesn't, because the subconscious doesn't know any different. So they can take practice run after practice run after practice run in their head and convince their subconscious that that's exactly the way they went it, and they practice it to perfection in their mind. They're acting as if it's already happened, so that when the body gets up in the air physically, subconscious doesn't know, and it just goes through the body movements, or it triggers the body to move that way. Boom, I landed for a perfect 10. This is real stuff. But the other thing is, when do you employ all this? I know you're so busy, I don't have time. The bonus section sounds great, but I'll never get there, I'm busy. Well, look, everybody goes to sleep at night, or everybody has a comfortable spot. So let's go back to using some of these comforts. Like I said, the modern tools of the day, we live in such a comfortable world. Do you have a favorite couch? You have a favorite chair? You have your big boy and big girl pajamas and your favorite slippers? Well, that's when you put it on. Because as the mind begins to quiet down and get ready for sleep so we can restore, the theater doors tend to open up a little bit more. And you start to think to yourself, how that looks, even if it's just trying to prepare for tomorrow. You have a big meeting, you have a speech, you have to give a presentation, or you just want to have a good day. You sit down and act as if that day is happening in the theater, and you are playing it out. This will happen the right way. That will happen the wrong way, right? And you start to get rid of the wrong stuff and keep the good stuff, and you keep focusing on this positive imagination. See, a lot of us are sitting up at night and we're worrying before we go to bed. We don't put ourselves into this almost hypnotic state where we relax, we calm our breathing, maybe a nice little cup of tea, a little warm liquid calms you down, whatever that does it. Maybe a little bit of beta, theta music, whatever works for you. You calm down and you start to close your eyes and you see this all playing itself out your way. I think you're going to be surprised at how powerful it is. Now, just want to highlight that one last point about the subconscious, and I'll get into this in other episodes. So many times we shut down our imagination as being silly or foolish because we don't know what we don't know. So at this moment in time, when we begin to act as if this beautiful, wonderful goal, so big, so scary, seemingly so far away, we just think there's no way I will ever have the resources to get there. But I am telling you, it is uncanny what a major editing job the subconscious will do to shut out all of the negative as soon as you tell it to, and it will find you the resources necessary to get to the goal, at least move towards it. So as you get those little positive chemical drips, because, oh my gosh, I can't believe this worked. Next thing you know, somebody sends me this, somebody sends me that. I open up a podcast and there's the answer. It's not so much that it wasn't always there. It's that you weren't seeing it, because if you prepared yourself with worry and haste the night before, you didn't allow your subconscious to edit that noise out and go looking for only the stuff you need. Sort of that bizarre thing that, right, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. Well, why don't you prepare yourself to be a ready student every single night? All of you younger folks that are still in school, act as if you are already taking the test after the night's worth of studying. See it going your way. See the A on the paper. It's stunning if you can use the theater of the mind to block out anxiety and calm down and have a successful event in your head, how your grades will go up. Promise you, the stuff works. I see it. I teach all my 5 kids the same thing. I have an actress in LA, and I told her the new Psycho-Cybernetics, and she practices it all the time. Within 60 days, not even, I think 45 days of being out there, she had her first part in a play, simply because of this. She got resourceful because of it, put a lot of posts up, made a lot of hustle happen, but it happened. Went through a big tryout, a lot of people. My hockey player, same thing. Trying to get him, my student, my business manager, my photographer. I have 5, and we all work on the same thing. Why not you? All right, let's review this now. In this episode, what I'm covering is activating the theater of your mind, which is a concept that comes from a book that is unbelievably a powerful mindset how-to. The version I like is the new Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, edited by Dan Kennedy, my mentor's marketing mentor. Wonderful book, because it takes from Napoleon Hill's learning a lot of the attributes or qualities, and it gets more into how to use what's already on board. And so that is the automatic success mechanism that you're all born with, but humans having that desire to go a little bit beyond and thrive, we have to recognize that that's a real thing. And that imagination is the ignition key to turn it on, to hype it up, to get it rolling. But the technique on how to really make this happen in this way to program the subconscious brain is, before you go to bed at night, you get yourself nice and comfortable. You act as if you're already there. You don't worry about the resources because you let the subconscious mind go find them for you. Practice this stuff. It will change your life like it did mine and a lot of the people I've shared it with. All right, let me give you a key point here. Through the practical experience of his plastic surgery practice, Dr. Maxwell Maltz was able to discern that people are able to perform their own mental plastic surgery by training their subconscious mind to find the resources for success. All right, remember, you can take immediate action to get moving in a better direction, the direction of these dreams you're after, because we take all the notes from each episode and we post them over at freethinkingtools.com. We only keep a few episodes up there at a time, and then we rotate them out, so feel free to go over there and grab the latest ones, okay? Also, please don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so that you don't miss out on any insights each time we upload an episode. We also post all of our episodes on our social media channels wherever we're active, which is most of them. So remember, you can turn on your notifications for the bonus section so you won't miss the reminders. We'd also appreciate it if you would share our content. Please do that. I'd love it. With other people just like you, so that they get the help that they need, and you join our mission of becoming people for others. Hey, thanks for listening. Please remember one key point. I always sign off with this: nobody's coming for you. So go get to work on yourself. See you in the next episode.